Sawadee, Thumbiksu, Kosovan, Guten Tag, Aloha. It's an honor to welcome you today to the Southeast Asia Conference here at the Bangkok Arts and Cultural Center. And it's exciting times because today we are part of the Office of Rights in Geneva 1-year celebration of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This year we're commemorating the 70th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And today we're looking at building beyond Bangkok Plus 30 and leaving no one behind for something of the future. I'm Dr. Cooper. I'm the Executive Director of the White House for Human Rights. We are here at the 10th annual UN Asia Pacific Forum on Sustainable Development to focus on the UN Sustainable Development Goals, looking at self-determination and sustainable development for dignity and a democracy in Southeast Asia. Today is an honor to be joined with two advocates from ASEAN nations that are focusing on the SDGs in Southeast Asia. Our first speaker tonight is Hua Song. Hua Song is with the Khmers Kampuchea Krom Federation. He's on the board of directors, and he's very much been focusing for the last 2 years on the UN Sustainable Development Goals in Kampuchea Krom in the Mekong Delta. And what he'll also be looking at, though, is that it's very important because this year, Vietnam will have their voluntary national review in July of 2023. And what's so important about a voluntary national review is that it focuses on two things: leaving no one behind, which is what all world leaders promise, but also furthest behind first. And this is crucial because for indigenous peoples, not only do they focus on the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, but also the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People that looks at the individual and the collective rights. But what the UN trip does is really codify the international human rights law as existing, but applying it specifically to the indigenous peoples striving for self-determination, but also being part of the global community as we all try to achieve the 2030 agenda, but also the Paris Agreement. And what's really important is if we look at the leaders in Kampuchea Krom, well as Laos, what we're focusing on is a way of culture, a cosmology that is always focused on sustainable development. We don't need to learn from somewhere else. The peoples of Laos and the peoples of Kampuchea Krom have always practiced sustainable development, have always practiced organic farming, have always made sure that the resources will be there for their children and their children's children. So it's an honor here before the 10th anniversary of the Asia Pacific Forum on Sustainable Development to be able to bring two communities of the 10 ASEAN nations to share and give insight. What's really important is it's not just what's wrong, but more importantly, what we want, what the people of Southeast Asia want to make the world a better place and to lead by example. One final point I'll make before I hand it to our two speakers is if we look at the Lao case, Sombat Sompong, who actually graduated from the University of Hawaii, who could have gone anywhere in the world with his degrees in agriculture, with his knowledge of what he gained combining the traditional Lao techniques with the new skills he learned in agriculture at the University of Hawaii. He was already doing what the world was aiming to achieve. So what we're trying to do is not only find new ways to do things, but to cultivate the existing ways of the world to make sure that we have a better world today. And we thank all of our participants. We have people in Cambodia, we have people in California, we have people here from Laos, and we're all here today to discuss the importance of self-determination and sustainable development. Our first person who will share their insights with us is Hua Song, and I want to thank you very much. I know you just came in, and made this voyage here, and he'll be this week as well, albeit at the Indian Reform on Sustainable Development. Okay, so thank you for coming.
Thank you, Dr. Google, for a wonderful introduction. My name is Short John. I'm the chairman of the Khmers Kampuchea Federation, advocacy for the rights and the termination of Kampuchea Krom in Kampuchea Krom. In Pakistan, complain about and people and doing bringing over speak. So like this, to we normal something like that without that I think can play and people and get it sound no problem getting back on the other thing there. To people like to get sustainable development strategy. And then think about the ESP will like do you think of it next of all, I want to talk about the democracy and sustainable development human rights campaign for social care and mention the Bangkok regulations. It's in fact group and people I don't know a lot of history of educating of what human rights and in the essential that we can be difficult in order to have dignity, democracy, and sustainable development for Khmers. So we believe that sustainable development can only be achieved with respect for human rights, including the rights of Khmers, to demand that their land is not be confiscated. They continue when democracy is essential for ensuring that people work that their rights are protected. We really critical to promote democracy. Institutions and practices in order to ensure that people involved and participate equally or and not stay in a decision that affect their life. Much work to hold the government of Vietnam accountable for respecting the human rights and promoting development sustainable development of Khmer community in Kampuchea. This can involve the changes in laws and policy, as well as holding the given people we also do that collaboration and solidarity of the community and community and human rights advocate can help the kind of control feel stronger so change forward. We are working with the local organization, including NGO, national government organization, and other groups advocating for human rights and sustainable development. Furthermore, we can do sustainable development, provide a framework for protecting, promoting sustainable development and human rights. But it is also not to the fact of also and airline goals, standing for voluntary progress from quality, social, and sustainable development, advocating for policy and practices for the most sustainable development and holding the government goal as well as speaking to accountable for the action. And finally, we give the kind of relation. And it's important for the kind of to be in that environment and even in space and Canada are working together and continue to maintain the democracy and sustainable development of the background and in vision. Innovation. Thank you very much for taking our outside event today and thank you for what you do.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And that gives you an insight to what the Khmer Krom are doing. So the voluntary national review is important because governments agree and voluntarily take up their obligation under the 23rd agenda to achieve the 17 global goals. These 17 global goals are crucial to improve the livelihood and increase the well-being for the people of Southeast Asia. In a way, it's a reaffirmation of the articles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And what it also looks at is these 17 goals can be broken into first, really economic, social, and cultural rights. Global goal number 1 looks at no poverty. Global goal number 2, zero hunger, making sure everyone has enough food. Number 3, good health and well-being. And I have something in my throat, so my good health is lacking for one moment, but I'm sure Marcus could find. Number 4 is quality education. Number 5 is looking at gender justice. And you can see here in our couple. Number 6 is looking at clean water, which Marcus is bringing me so now. I know clean water is good. Number 7, renewable energy. SDG 6 is so important. Number 8, he said work on economic growth. Number 9, innovation in infrastructure. We're here in Bangkok. We're Bangkok Arts. Such amazing infrastructure. Such a wonderful place to have this at the Southeast Asia junction. Number 10, reducing inequality. Making sure that the people in Laos, in their own homeland of Laos, are not second-class citizens, that their rights that are enshrined in the Constitution and the promises of the Lao government by ratifying instruments, as well as the 7 people are realized, not just empty promises on paper, but good public policy that guarantees people a better way of life. And if you look at number 11, that's looking at cities. We had a great meeting on Friday already with the local government office of UNSCAP, and they're looking at smart cities 2023 and 2024. Then number 12 is responsible consumption, looking how we all live too. Number 13 is climate action. 14 is life below water, and 15 is life on land. 16, peace, justice, strong institutions. The core of what a democracy is. There's accountability, there's a guarantee for everyone to have a fair go, as they say in Australia, where we were before. And then, of course, looking at 17, and that's partnership. And this today, at the 10th Asia Pacific Forum on Sustainable Development of the UNSCAP, is an example of people in civil society associations coming together, sharing and discussing solutions to achieve the SDGs in Southeast Asia. I'll now pass it to my colleague, Dr. Butchon Shantalabong. He's an amazing activist who focuses on human rights and democracy as one of the best is that all of the human rights are being realized today. We also just recently received an award as an amazing woman activist with other women from Haiti, from all over the world that are also doing amazing advocacy and showing very importantly as we're here in the month of March, International Women's Month, also knowing that women's rights are human rights. It's making sure that we achieve these goals, to make sure that SDG number 5 is reality. And if we look at leadership, the consistency of Alliance for Democracy and Outcome, the clarity of the message for a movement to make sure that everyone has their rights is just so important, especially as we look at the global goals and we bring them to the ground from the UN. So I'd like to pass this to Bunton. I'm so glad that you're here with us, and I allow you to share with us your perspective.
Thank you, Justin. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, thank you for the organization of this very good event here in Bangkok today, and thank you for the very good about the coming on. My name is Bunton. So I am the president of democracy. I am a doctor medical. I work in the hospital in Germany. I made my visa for this work for organization for APL for human rights and democracy. APL is a line for democracy. We are a global network for human rights and democracy. Our members are from many continents, so USA, Canada, Europe, France, Germany, Spain, Swiss, and Asia to Japan, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, underground, Australia, and New Zealand. We work together for peaceful plan for democracy and for respect human rights. Today is for me and for us, for all our Lao activists, it's very important event here in Bangkok. Today is day for 30 years Bangkok Human Rights Convention for UN Human Rights. I would like to speak about the sustainable development goals SDG 17 and the influence of the ASEAN human rights principle. 30 years ago, the ASEAN Community of States found our formulation of the implementation of human rights within the community of states. In 2011, on the other hand, on member states of the UN, including the ASEAN states, committed themselves to the sustainable development goals SDG, which are now also recognized as a human rights is the more precise definition. The main difference between ASEAN human rights principle completed the definition of UN or other communities, such as the EU, is that in ASEAN international community, there is an obvious belief that human rights must first be earned. The UN clearly says that the human rights are to be guaranteed as fundamental rights without any advance payment. However, since the ASEAN member states have now committed themselves to the SDG and as UN member states are obligated to respect human rights principles, they have contradicted themselves. I will speak on in Lao. วันนี้ข้าพเจ้าในนามประธานกรรมการเพื่อประสานลาวมีความภาคภูมิใจอย่างยิ่งที่ได้มาร่วมการที่ได้ในสถานที่รับประโยชน์บางคนซึ่งมาในการจัดเตรียมโดยท่านจะซูเปอร์และเป็นมีผู้ตั้งหน้าของเขาเป็นการจะตั้งให้ข ของชาวเขมรเสรีเคลื่อนไหวเพื่ออิสรภาพหรือประชาธิปไตยของชาวพวกเราการทำที่เพื่อประชาธิปไตยในลาวประจักษ์ที่ได้ทางที่อยู่ในนครหลวงปรากฏและทุกของชาติของดากงก็คือส่วนที่สัญญาที่มนุษย์ของประเทศอยู่ในนครหลวงวันนี้ครบ60 ปีแล้วพวกเราจะคงผู้ที่มีในพวกเราจะประกาศโดยเฉพาะถ้าจะเป็นในทางว่าเรื่องสิทธิมนุษย์ได้มีควรจะเป็นอยู่ในภูมิภาคเพราะว่าในภูมิภาคบางประเทศผู้นำบางประเทศเพราะว่าภูมิภาคควรจะเป็นสิ่งมีสิทธิมนุษย์อันนี้บางทางบางผู้นำภูมิภาคว่าสิทธิมนุษย์ให้มีแต่นำผู้คนใดที่สามารถมีสิทธิมนุษย์ได้แต่ละพวกเจ้าหน้าที่ที่มนุษย์จำเป็นต้องอยู่ในทุกประเทศในอาเซียนและจำเป็นต้องอยู่ในทั่วโลกข้าพเจ้าจะได้อธิบายในกลุ่มอาเซียนว่าเป็นประเทศที่ว่าจะมีบางประเทศมีการปกครองแบบเป็นกลางแต่ว่าบางประเทศมีการปกครองแบบประชาธิปไตยข้าพเจ้าแล้วก็กล่าวไปในโอกาสนี้ How did this competition come about? Unlike the great modern and success modern EU and the ASEAN community of states is not a community of various of democratic golden countries. In the case of ASEAN, however, it is completely different from that EU. In the ASEAN community of states there are one different system from leadership and democracy. For example, Indonesia, Malaysia, and East Timor are democratic with a lot of freedom, whereas Thailand means freedom and separately discrimination. And then there are leadership in this community of states. One, the kingdom of Brunei too often the people so proceed in an exemplary way. The two communities strategy of Laos and Vietnam are only out to explore where our people and each other. The disadvantage thing about this development is that it's impossible to achieve the sustainable development goals in this way. Also, this development is by no means sustainable for anyone, not even for those who foster this growth. The regime in Laos is unscrupulous policy, destroying the nature of its country, which may have project. Like in many areas now, many migrant more than 14% now for foreigners, mostly from China, secondly from Vietnam. The people now they are very poor now, but they are now poorer and poorer by we have too much migrant. Secondly, in Laos or in Belarus, Burma, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam. In the Belarus, due to too much debt, their buildings is not only for the people who hard work, they don't have job now, but it's a destroying environment in this region, like deforestation, the flood disaster, and also on. This is too much in our region. In Laos, this is too much corruption, even in level of the NHS. Too much human trafficking, too much drug problem. The young people, we prefer to say that young people, they are now very mentally. Why? The system is too much dirty. The people in our city have, they don't have right to assembly, don't have right to place the media, especially social media, very strong for the law, for the government, control even the for prisoner, then you have to 30 years or the comment or the short video in social areas, very hard for the young people. But now I would like to speak about what can be better in us. Our recommendation and solution. First, detention of the voting in the ASEAN human rights bill, one must earn one's human rights is equality, the clear information of human rights, first the basic right for all people without recognition. Second, reform for the democracy in all ASEAN countries. We must support this process is beneficial for each department involved. First, transformation of the ASEAN economic community provide the committee of values for democracy. This would also ultimately mean that countries who protect each other in feed for outside, such as for China. Fourth, the reduction of all gas projects and extension of solar energy power. In the Mekong region, we have so much sunshine. Fifth, care of monocultures or organic farming for farming. Sixth, one order which way of unfiltered toxin into the environment or bodies of water. Massive expansion of service treatment made in the entire region. Seven, one plastic effect in all ASEAN countries instead promoted development of biodegradable packaging. I think now ASEAN countries will be democratic system for equal countries like Cambodia, Laos, Burma, Vietnam too. And if nation need human rights, the SDG will be only with human rights. Without human rights, it's not SDG. This is my debate. Thank you, Justin. I think that aboutเราถ้าเจ้าเราประเทศที่อาเซียนควรเป็นประเทศที่ประสานประเทศที่ต้องการผลิตชีวิตและดูแลทุกประเทศก็ให้การประเทศแต่ผู้อาเซียนที่ผ่านมาที่เป็นได้ร่วมมือกันเพื่อการเศรษฐกิจมันก็คือการรวมกันทางโลกสาธารณโลกประเทศในการประกอบที่มีภาษากันกลุ่มอาเซียนควรจะแบบโลกเราเป็นทางที่สามารถทุกประเทศการประกอบภาษาไทยการเป็นกฎหมายจะมีกฎหมายได้ถึงเวลาที่จะเป็นสิ่งต่างการที่จะพัฒนาและดำรงได้ต้องสิ่งที่จะพัฒนาได้ข้าพเจ้าได้กล่าวพัฒนาหากมีสิ่งที่มนุษย์ถ้าสัตว์เราทำสิ่งที่มนุษย์ก็สามารถพัฒนาได้ประเทศเราพัฒนาได้บอกซึ่งเป็นตัวสิ่งที่เขาวิธีการได้ที่การมันมีปัญหาที่45หัวประสิทธิ์โอเล ที่ทักษะเจอหลายแม่น้ำโขงแล้วก็สร้างเขื่อนที่ไหนสร้างฉะนั้นจะต้องมีการยุติในข้อเสนอการแก้ไขผู้อาเซียนโดยการตัดสินตามสัญญาโดยที่สัญญาของสภาชาติและก็ต้องการเปลี่ยนแปลงในประเทศในภูมิอาเซียนให้มีภาษาของทุกที่แล้วก็ต้องเปลี่ยนภูมิอาเซียนให้เป็นภูมิที่โปรแกรมในทางด้านเศรษฐกิจให้เป็นภูมิที่โปรแกรมเป็นที่แต่ละที่มีภาษานะคะข้อที่4ได้เสนอให้มีการทัวร์ให้มีการยุติการสร้างเขื่อนอย่างบกสมเหตุควรเปลี่ยนการสร้างเขื่อนมาเป็นการพัฒนาพลังงานด้วยจะมีการเขียนเรื่องน้ำของพิเศษปฏิบัติอยู่แล้วก็ง่ายจะเป็นยุติที่เราเปลี่ยนการคู่กับต้นพันธุ์ด้วยพืชชนิดเดียวส่วนกล้วยจะเป็นส่วนกล้วยส่วนยางพาราเป็นเรื่องที่สูงหายสุดถ้าเราต้องแก้ไขเป็นเรื่องของสร้างแล้วที่6เวลาต้องแก้ไขเรื่องเพื่อจะสร้างในด้านบางทีถ้าเพื่อต้องโตในนั้นต้องน้ำใหญ่ค่ะเพื่อต้องการโตในน้ำสักให้มันถึงที่ภาวนาสะดวกเพราะเห็นในโลกทอดการใช้พลาสติกของราชการผู้พาเซียนจะต้องมีการอนุรักษ์รูปตัวเราไม่มีการใช้ถุงพลาสติกต้องใช้แบบแนวตัวอย่างแบบตัวเองไม่ค่ะรูปตัวเราการใช้พลาสติกThank you very much, Justin.
Thank you one time for your insights and really what I think was crucial about what you shared is 2 points. First and foremost, a comparative juxtaposition of the regional countries in court. When we look at the European Court of Human Rights, one can actually point out that the rights that are upheld in Strasbourg, the European Court of Human Rights, are juridical, very enforceable, so that if it's removed in Strasbourg, as it examines of the countries of the Council of Europe, that is the supreme law of the land. That decision there, made in Strasbourg, must be enforced in the national boundaries. Those countries are responsible for the regional mechanism known as the European Court of Human Rights. And as we gather here in Bangkok, we're looking at ASEAN. ASEAN's Intergovernmental Commission on Human Rights, known as KKF. And we were earlier in Jakarta. Now ASEAN is being chaired by Indonesia. And what's important is their expert, Tugu, is a very active person trying to make sure that the words of the ASEAN Intergovernmental Commission on Human Rights, the ASEAN Charter, actually to be used by it, in this case, in Laos, and inside Bangkok to guarantee their rights. In the Eicher, the ASEAN Intergovernmental Commission on Human Rights has been making so far. There is no regional court. There is no ASEAN Intergovernmental Court on Human Rights with independent judges. But the Eicher that exists today, the commissioners are working very diligently to try to make sure that what does exist now for 1 decade is actually able to be applied by advocates and activists from around the region. So I believe that's essential when you compare the European Court with the ASEAN. Those are probably the 2 on the extreme of examples of what does and does not work. European Court in full function for a long time, ASEAN for 1 decade, but in between there's the African Commission and Court on Human and People's Rights, known as the Bangkok Charter, and it's human and people's rights. So embracing the collective that the people of ASEAN understand. But there's also the Inter-American Mission and Court. And just last week, who I came in from Los Angeles, there was an Intergovernmental Commission on Human Rights meeting in Los Angeles. So we had a special rapporteur on economic, social, and environmental issues, going and looking at the right to housing in Los Angeles, meeting with people on the ground. So you can see how the international standards that we're talking about today of sustainable development under the UN global goals, along with the rights determined under the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, the International Covenant on Economic, Social, right? Common Article 1, that right of self-determination is crucial. But it's not only determining one's political aspirations, what Bunto was sharing kind of democracy, but also to pursue economic, social, cultural development based on your shared values, unity. And the second part is so valuable. It's also that you alone, the people, decide how the natural resources is. Not that someone who's unaccountable in Vietnam decides, in this case, a dam that then flooded and destroyed the livelihood of the people, not only 1 year ago, but multiple. And still there's no recourse, there's no house, no pillow to put your head on. And so that's actually crucial. The second point that I want to raise, as well as UA, that's so valuable, is we are here in Bangkok on the 30th anniversary of the important World Conference on Human Rights that took place in Vienna. Vienna was one everyone heard about. That was in June. That was crucial. There was a declaration and a program of action to reaffirm the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. That was crucial. But what was important and why we're here in Bangkok is during the regional meetings, there was an active pursuit by many of the governments that are in this room. What I like about being here at Southeast Asian Conference is right over there in the library, over Busan is Laos. That's why Busan's sitting there. That's all the Lao books that are there. The next show over is Singapore. Singapore and many countries in Asia were trying to weaken the Universal Declaration. They were saying, these are Western imperial ideas. What was so important and why we're honored to be here on this sacred ground in Bangkok is the people. We the people, the first UN drafted in 1945 in San Francisco, stated clearly, we the peoples have these rights. Not we the governments, we the peoples. And when the governments try to say that what they're trying to say about democracy, innocent until proven guilty, requiring informed consent, that you can make sure that you can speak your mind, that you can make sure that you can have freedom of thought, freedom of conscience, freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, all these rights. Asian governments try to say, no, those are something else. And the people said, no, torture is not an Asian value. What you're doing to your own people is a disgrace. It's not in any way promoting our culture that we have in Asia. Our culture in Asia is about collective rights. Our culture in Asia is about taking care of our elders. In Asia, taking care of our children better life. And what your government are saying, we deny torture is not an Asian value. What you're doing to us is wrong. All we're doing is making sure what you promise becomes a possibility for all people in the ASEAN countries. So this Bangkok Declaration 30 years later is so important. So I really want to thank everyone for joining us. I know it's a very long weekend of trainings, of bringing people from the community in the ASEAN to learn about them, to demand them, but also to be with refugees who have fled from their country because they could not exercise the global goals, not exercise the UDHR, not exercise the UN Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People. So had to seek freedom in another country. And now stand together in solidarity for those important sustainable development goals. So we know everyone's. We thank everyone for doing all that you do on a daily basis, not just when it's the time to come to the UN development, but we also thank everyone because we know in July, a high-level political forum, in this case, Vietnam will be reviewed. We have to make sure that the truth is told. Also very important, in September, the UN General will be the midterm. I see at night here in Thailand, everyone loves watching football late at night. And Right now, we're at half. We're at half of the sustainable development goal. And if we look at that, I think you would not be happy to go into the locker room. We are not where we should be. We are playing against a really bad team who is not doing what they should do. They're committing fouls. They have many yellow cards. They probably have red cards, but they human rights and democracy. So we have to make sure we come out in the second half, the last 6 years, to change the direction for humanity and our island. Because there is no music on a planet that's dead. There are no jobs. If we do not make sure that the climate clock, which is moving every second, a climate catastrophe is stopped. When you get your homeland back of Khmers Krom, the climate will rise and you will be floating markets like here in Thailand. And in Laos, when you come back, you will not be able to have your land because all the rice fields will be salinated. Everything will not be able to take place. So we know now that the future depends on what we do today. And we know next year will be the UN Summit of the Future. And we want to make sure that the future for all people with their fundamental freedoms. So we're looking at the regional commissions, calling for an ASEAN court of human rights, but also making sure that the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples is enforceable and that all peoples can have their rights. And those that are in everything, to the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous, to all the treaties, for CEDAW, for CERD, that we have a better world. So I want to thank you all for coming today, for all that you do. And we'd like to thank our people on Zoom as well. Priscilla, as you, would you like to share any perspectives?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, you want to turn on your screen or have things gone bad for you in Cambodia? The rest looks okay.
Sure. Sorry, I'm having some audio issues. Could you repeat what you said? Your question?
Turn on your screen so we can see everything about the story.
Can you hear me?
It would be perfect. So any perspectives that we know you have been really dedicated to your culture and you have last year, and now you're living here in Southeast Asia and learning all about who you are and who should be officers with the new young women and leaders for Khmer Kampuchea. Don't have to say sorry because you can hear them.
I'm having some trouble hearing you.
Okay.
I'm thinking maybe if you put them closer, but
Any closing, any person would like to share? Look at your cell phone. I'll send you a message. Cell phone. Look at your cell phone.
okay. Okay, thank you. Sorry for some audio issues. Yeah, first I want to thank you for inviting me to this side event, and thank you for everybody for sharing. It was great to listen to all of you share about some of the issues going on, but also your perspectives on what we need to do moving forward. As a Khmer Krom American youth living in Cambodia now, I think it's really important that we make these types of events more accessible to youth around the world. I know that there are so many people that are around my age that are really interested and passionate about working towards these global goals as well. But there's just, I think, a lack of community for a lot of youth in Southeast Asia. So I think that's something that I would love to help push is that getting more solidarity and community within Southeast Asia so that we can work together to learn more about these issues and how we can actually, find solutions to work. We only have 7 years left, so to implement some action that's really going to directly help our communities here in Southeast Asia.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your comments and so glad we could participate from Ben. What's exciting is he is now working with the international government. And this is to serve as global happen on the ground throughout Cambodia. And it's exciting because it's here in the university. Find all those we learn to making a difference. So thank you so much, Auckland, and we will see you soon in person. Thank you so much for making time today.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Okay, everyone's going to be back to you very happy. All the loud people are very excited to see that. So we thank everyone for going today for our practice for memory. The 70th anniversary. That's very important because the vaccine received the event on Wednesday on December 10th, but throughout the entire year, but also the feature in Bangkok on the 30th anniversary of the Vienna Declaration and Program of Action. Because it was really the brave NGOs that demanded a new direction in Asia here. And there's two things we can look at that are very from Vienna. Number one was the creation of national human rights and HRI. And the country, so they've not done something that's all for 30 years ago. 30 years is a long time. Many of us in this room have been alive for those 30 years and thought that it was when we fit. I call for the 75th anniversary to look at another gap. That's looking at entire cities and the nation. Because we live in a urban context, but more and more we know that if we work at the city level, we can create change for the community level and also generate also global civil society. Because the every country quickly stumble. Look at the two countries now, they're authoritarian regimes with one political party. It's not the same. And so if you look at and if we go historically, every country is stumble, but that's what we created the UNHCR. And it is a floorboard that will never go below. No one, anyone on earth should ever not have any of those rights. But it's also a scheme and aspect of where we can go to together when we take direct action and demand. And that's what the global books are. They're not an institution. They are a technical book. 17 mobile goals, 222 indicators. It is a guidebook. It's a recipe for moral revolution and a better world. And so we thank you all for joining us. Please come and have some amazing time that we will share with our hosts. And in conclusion, we also want to it's a beautiful state, and it's so nice to hear the but also part the vision and their goal for a better world. So we love the art on every shelf, the books, with the amazing souvenirs and social benefits that I've seen in many of the countries that we visited. So thank you very much for hosting us today. We look forward to doing more in the future. We will probably next year now will be reviewing at the government and also the job and other aspects. So we all continue to organize and report for 17 so for Yeah,